Welcome to the SaunaWellness Pro10 General Troubleshooting video guide.
Please take note of the timestamps on screen in case you need to jump to a specific point in the video.
In this video, we will go over a series of methods to troubleshoot your sauna in the event that something isn't functioning as intended. If you have any questions regarding this video or something that isn't mentioned, please send an email to info@wellness-usa.com or give us a call at 1-800-445-8418. To troubleshoot your sauna, you will need a multimeter, a step ladder, and depending on your issue, you'll want a Phillips head screwdriver or screw gun with a Phillips head drill bit. When working with any electrical wiring, it's important to ensure that the sauna is unplugged before removing or attaching any cables. If your sauna doesn't power on, check to make sure your power cable is connected properly into the receptacle. If it's plugged in properly but still not turning on, ensure that you meet the proper requirements to power your SaunaWellness Pro10. Each sauna will require a dedicated circuit when plugged into an outlet. Please observe the text on the screen to make sure that you meet the requirements for your specific model. Next, check to see if the breaker on the sauna has been tripped. Locate the breaker button on the back of the black box on top of the unit. Press the button and see if your sauna will power on. If you've covered these steps but your sauna still doesn't power on, you'll want to check the power supply. To access the power supply, locate the black box on top of your Pro10. Using a screw gun or screwdriver, remove the lid to access the internals. Locate the power supply's green LED light. If it's faint, flickering, or completely off, there may be something wrong with your power supply. Using a multimeter, check the AC and DC of the power supply to see if it's sending and receiving power. If it's failing to do either one, you may need a new power supply. Reach out to our customer service department to have the issue resolved. If the power supply light is solid green and is properly inputting and outputting power, there may be an issue with the control panel or relay board, and you'll want to troubleshoot those next. To troubleshoot your sauna's control panel, check to see if the control panel's blue light power indicator is illuminated. If it's not illuminated, you'll want to first check the power supply to ensure that it's working properly. If the blue light power indicator isn't on, and your power supply seems to be working properly, check the cable connection on the top of the sauna. The cable will be located on the board that is next to the power supply. Disconnect and reconnect the cable to the board, ensuring that it's properly connected. Afterwards, do the same for the extender cable that leads into the sauna itself. If your power supply is working as intended, and you've ensured your control panel is connected properly, you'll want to check the relay terminals. These are located on the main board inside of the black box, on top of your Pro10. Test the terminals with your multimeter tool to make sure it's properly receiving power. Also, check to see if the salt lamp or reading lights will turn on inside your sauna. If any of these are not receiving power, you may need to have your relay board replaced. Reach out to our customer service department to have the issue resolved. If your relay board is working as intended, and you're able to turn on the salt lamp and reading lights, you'll want to check the control panel itself directly. Remove the frame, holding the control panel into place using a screw gun or Phillips head screwdriver. On the back side of the control panel, you'll see a multi-pin cable connected. Ensure the connection is sound by unplugging and plugging the cable back into the panel. If you do so, and your power supply and relay board are all functioning properly, and the panel still is not functioning, you may need a new control panel. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If you're experiencing issues with your Chromalight LED modules, you'll have to troubleshoot to see if it's an issue with the individual LED panel or the main board that it's connected to. If none of your LED modules will turn on, check to make sure that your remote is functioning properly. First, ensure that you've removed the plastic tab that comes with your new remote. Next, make sure your remote has a working battery and that you are pointing it directly at the Starlight sensor when trying to power on the LEDs. The SaunaWellness Pro10 should come with a spare remote, so try both remotes before further troubleshooting. If your remote has a new battery and you've troubleshooted to ensure that your sauna is receiving appropriate power and that the power supply is working, check the top side of the sauna to troubleshoot the LED driver board. The LED driver board is located near the middle on the top of your sauna's roof. Ensure your board is receiving power by using your multimeter to check the wires that are soldered to the board. If no power is coming in, check the relay board near the power supply where the wire is connected to. Most models will have a cable that plugs into the relay board. Older models may have the wires directly connected to the terminals. If your model has the wires directly connected to the terminals, test the terminals with the multimeter tool to ensure it's getting power. If it's a newer cable, ensure it's properly plugged in and that the relay board is receiving power from the power supply by checking the other terminals with the multimeter tool. If the driver board is receiving power, but none of the LEDs illuminate, you may need to have the LED board replaced. If the board is not receiving power, it may be an issue with your relay board. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If your LED lights turn on but the colors don't appear to look right when selecting them with your remote, or if your ChromaLight modules are not all the same uniform color when changing colors, you may need to have the LED board replaced. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If one of your panels seems to have some or all of its LEDs not illuminating when other panels are working as intended, check the driver board on top of the sauna. Locate which cable belongs to the non-working panel and try plugging it in to a different port on the driver board. If the same issue happens to the panel and it isn't happening to any of the others, if the issue repeats itself and the other panels are still working as intended, check the back side of the problem panel itself to ensure that the cable is secured in place. If the LED panel still doesn't work properly, you likely have a panel that needs to be replaced. If problems with the panel only happen when plugged into a specific port, try connecting a working panel into it to test if the port is bad. If it turns out that you have a bad port, you'll need to replace your LED driver board. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If you are having problems with the heaters not working, you'll need to troubleshoot to see if it's an issue with the connection, the power supply, or the heater itself. Before troubleshooting, it's important to double check that your sauna is receiving adequate power and to make sure that the breaker switch hasn't been triggered, causing the sauna to not power on. If none of the heaters in your SaunaWellness Pro10 are working, double check to see if your breaker switch has been tripped. If it has, press the breaker switch in and your heaters should start working again. If your breaker switch hasn't been tripped or your heaters are still not working, double check the power cable connections on top of the sauna to make sure that they are all connected securely. Each power cable provides power to the heaters on the same side of the sauna, meaning the cables on the left of the sauna provide power to the heaters on the left, the cables on the right provide power to the heaters on the right side of the sauna. The cables on the back side of the sauna provide power to the heaters on the rear sauna wall, as well as the heaters located on the bench. If you've made sure that all of your connections are secure and the heaters still aren't working, open the black box on top of the sauna and troubleshoot the power supply as shown earlier in this video. If the power supply is working as intended and still none of your heaters are working, there's likely an issue with the relay board. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If the heaters on one particular wall aren't working, it's likely due to a loose cable connection. Check the power cable connections on the top of the sauna to make sure they are all connected securely. If connections are secured, yet the side is still not working, use a multimeter tool to see if the relay board is functioning properly and sending power through the cable. If the cable is receiving power, unfasten the screws holding the heater in place, and using a multimeter tool, check to see if the heater wires are receiving power. The heaters on each side are chained together, so if you find that the power cable is working, there is likely an issue with the wire junction where the heaters are joined. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If you find that the heater in your bench isn't working, after checking the connections at the top of your sauna, you'll want to make sure that the bench's power cable is plugged securely into the rear wall. If you've checked these connections and only your bench heater still isn't working, you may need to have it replaced. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If you suspect that the side glass rod heater isn't working, check to make sure that the dedicated power switch is turned on. You will see a visible glow from the heater if it's operational. After turning the switch on, if the heater is still not working, check the top of the sauna and make sure the power cables are connected securely. If you've checked that the connections are secure and only the glass rod heater still isn't working, pop out the power switch and with the multimeter tool, make sure that it's sending and receiving power. If the switch isn't working, you'll likely need to replace it. If it's working as intended, unfasten the heater from the wall with a Phillips head drill bit or a screwdriver. Check the bullet pin connections on the back of the heater with the multimeter tool to make sure it's receiving power. If it's receiving power and your heater still isn't working, you'll likely need to replace the heater. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. If one of your carbon heaters is not functioning properly, check the top of the sauna and make sure the power cables are connected securely. If you've checked the connections and the heater still isn't working, unfasten the heater from the wall with a Phillips head drill bit or screwdriver. Check the bullet pin connections on the back of the heater with a multimeter tool to make sure it's receiving power. If it's receiving power and your heater isn't working, you'll likely need a replacement heater. Reach out to our customer service department to have this issue resolved. This concludes the general troubleshooting video guide for the SaunaWellness Pro10 sauna. If you have any questions regarding this video or something that hasn't been covered, please email us at info@wellness-usa.com or give us a call at 1-800-445-8418.